Yeah, yeah. Too bad, too bad, too bad, too bad, too bad, too bad. She got me thinking that she too bad, too bad, too bad, too bad, too bad, too bad. She got me thinking that she.
Okay, so this is my friend Julika. Probably one of the best choreographers that I know, personally, at least. I love taking your class, Julika, because I feel like I have like such a different style, and like the effort and like the, I don't want to say aggression, that sounds like a negative term, but like the force that kind of comes in, you have to come out your choreography is like something
Yeah.
I'm not used to necessarily. And so like every time I take the class, I'm like, yo, this is like pushing me. So I really love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I met her at in the 757 area, like Hampton Roads. Um, and so I'm just gonna basically ask you and kind of pick your brain about your perspective as a choreographer, and then um, dive into your visual that you have on YouTube. So that's something I watched like each of the videos like 4 times each, and I was like, this is so good. Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, so just like first off, like just to get your perspective on things, like um for an analogy, like choreography is to dance like blank is to blank, right? Or if you have a different way of describing the connection between the two, you can totally jump on that as well.
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind of what choreography is to dance, and it might sound very cheesy, no pun intended, but it's like macaroni is to cheese. It's like the sauce that's needed to layer on what dance is. So you have the elbows, the
Yeah.
noodles, and then choreography just adds that cheesy, ooey gooey flavor of sauce that just makes it like complete in a way, because you wouldn't really know what to do with the elbows unless you add on some like creativity to that.
I
So
love that. Oh
yeah.
man, I love that. That's cool.
Mhm.
So for the overarching story of Julika's life, obviously you were born, so that's I think a really important aspect. And then somewhere along the road, you discovered dance, and
Yes.
then after dancing, you became, or you started making choreography and became a choreographer. So explain to me how that transition worked. Like a lot of people sometimes will be a dancer but not necessarily make their own choreography. They'll just kind
Yeah.
of get other people's. So like what was that transition like, and what kind of spurred it?
I remember distinctively when I first was asked to choreograph. I was 8 years old. I attended a private school called Calvary Christian Academy, and the way that the school was, just recently I was thinking about this, that many of the teachers there instilled so many things within the students and saw the gifts that we had and would pick that out of us. And so I had a teacher at the time, her name was Miss Ward, and she had asked me to choreograph to a song. And it wasn't long, it was probably just like a minute or maybe 30 seconds for our chapel that we would have every Thursday. And I remember thinking at the time, why? Because I was not a choreographer. I would always just dance. My friends would create, who were much older than me. And they would, ask me to learn things and we would do it for fun. But when it came to choreographing a piece, I was like, that's not even something I would do. Why would she ask me? She asked, so and so. So it took a while for me to like simmer that in. And I remember like 2 or 3 days before the chapel was about to happen, she kept asking me, are you ready to, teach it to your peers? And I was so afraid. And I remember talking to my mom, and my mom was like, well, you need to let her know that you're not ready since you are afraid of this. And I remember telling my teacher and apologizing, I'm sorry, I cannot do it, because I didn't have confidence in myself. And I felt bad for, telling her that. And I remember my mom telling me, like, distinctively, she said, this is going to happen again. And there's a reason why she saw something in you to be able to create, and you're going to have to figure it out the next time. But for right now, this is a lesson learned. So 10 years later, at 18,
Whoa.
yeah, I know, right? During that middle ground, though, between 8 and 18, I started to mature a little bit more in creating, but it wasn't like set in stone. But when I turned 18, I was a part of a dance group at my church called 1493, which was based off of Psalms 149:3, which was, let them praise his name and dance. And our team leader had asked me to create to a song called Stand Out by Ty Tribbett. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that's fine. And I remember distinctively writing down my blocking, writing the visual of what I had for what I wanted to display for the congregation to get out of that ministry of that song. And I remember the Lord telling me during that time that that song was really meant for me. And that from 18 on, even before 18 and just going on after 18 till even right now, that I was going to be a person to stand out within the crowd. And that was the first time I was able to really choreograph a set or just a piece on stage within, my peers, and be confident in knowing this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And this is a gift that God has given me that I want to continue to cultivate in. So yeah, that's how that
Whoa.
started. Yes.
I never knew that. That is amazing. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so, uh, so was that like being a choreographer, was that even on your mind at that point where you're like, I just want to dance and do this? Or were you just like, oh, I wonder who's going to ask me next? Like your mom, my mom told me at 8 that this would happen again, like,
I mean,
where was it in the,
as a kid, like I did have a period where I did not want to dance anymore.
okay.
Because of that, and then also other things, as a child, you're still trying to figure out yourself and figure out what you want to do. And I think also what was along that line was the reason why I didn't want to create was because I was afraid of what people would think about my creativity. And I think during that period, like I said, in the middle ground of 8 to 18, I had to figure out who I was and what message did I want to relay to others through my movement. And I had to figure out what my movement was during that time. Now, of course, I'm 30 years old. My movement is totally different from then, but I had to have a foundation ground of what it was, of who I was within. And I think what really just sparked me to grow into that was just knowing what God had already said about me and owning up to that, and just moving forward into continuing even when I would not do the dancing and want to create. I knew there was still something in me that still had the potential to, if that makes any sense.
No,
I would see different things on TV, like movies would inspire me to want to create and stuff like that, or music videos that I would sneak to see that would inspire me to like want to create. But yeah, I had never really wanted to choreograph, but because of that teacher, I really believe because of her and seeing something within me that I didn't see in myself sparked something in my mind like, okay, well, choreographing. I never really thought of that. I've always just thought I could be just a backup dancer, just dance for the rest of my life. But choreographing, being behind the scenes, never really came to the mindset of that. But because of her and then, other teachers after her, yeah.
shout out to Miss Ward. Let's
Yeah.
go. This video is sponsored by Calvary Christian Academy. So on the topic of inspiration, right? So you have this 4-part visual on YouTube,
Yeah.
all centered around love, and it's like the 4 Greek words. So like, could you explain the 4 just for people who don't know?
So
Yeah, go for it.
sorry. For storge, we have empathetic. For Phileas, friendship. For agape is unconditional, and then for eros is romantic.
Yeah. So a lot of people, especially dancers, I think, can connect with love as artists. I mean, everyone can connect with love, but like, what made you want to, I'm kind of just wanting to like break down the whole thing for people who like see the video and it's like, oh, this is super cool, but like the behind the scenes that you wouldn't know without talking to you, obviously. So like what gave you the inspiration to make like a 4-part series on love, and specifically why those Greek words, or like what gave you the inspiration, or did it just kind of come to you one day, or did you get inspired by something else like you were saying earlier?
I was having a conversation with a friend, and him and I, we always have like talks about God and hold each other accountable. And I had always heard the word agape throughout my life, unconditional love from God, excuse me. But the other ones I never had really heard about until I was talking to my friend about, love, and that God is in every aspect of love. I mean, not even just within those four, but those four were really pretty distinct to be able to have those loves, excuse me, again, those type of loves within God and then within yourself to be able to share through other people who you meet. As for like Storge with empathetic, I felt that one was really about, there are times in your life where you love someone and it changes to where they're at a distance, and you will always have love for them even though there is distance, and even if there are things that are not the same as they were before, but there's still love there, that you can still share with them. And then with philia, of course, that's a friendship love. That's with the people that you have a close bond with in a platonic way, and you share a lot of mutual things. And then you have agape, which is to me distinctively just God's love. I mean, all of it is his love. God is love. It says that in the word. But I feel like that one is the show of his unconditional love that we are to have, from him, as well as, since it's from him, for ourselves. But even for the people that we might not get along with, you got to still have that unconditional love for them too, because that's what it says in God's word, is that we're supposed to love our neighbors just as ourselves. And then for Eros, which was like the most hardest one, I felt like out of all four of them for me to create and to grasp on, was romantic love, because I've never really distinctively experienced that thoroughly, but I had to be reminded by God that it's not about what I see through the media, what romantic love is. It's about what he feels the romantic love I should experience when the time does come. So yeah, that's where it all came from. Was I had a conversation with a friend, and then, we've had our own experience within our own friendship within those four, that we had exchanged with our own experience with other people, even with each other. And it just made me spark, like, you know what, maybe I should just put this as a platform to remind people right now that what we need is love. And there are different forms of love that you can share with each other, and as well as from yourself. But remember who the source is within that love, and that love is from God.
Man. So you immediately started just choreographing it, or was there like did you meet like, okay, let me text these people that I know who are videographers, like, let's do this right now? Or did it kind of have to simmer, or like did life kind of in the way, or like what was the timeline for everything?
Well, since it was during the time of COVID, I had a lot of time to think about it, because it was
Got
during
it.
the quarantine time of
Yeah.
when you're just sitting in your room and you're with your thoughts, and you can have an option of what you want to think about. And for
Right.
me, I had just finished a recent project called Cruel World, and I wanted to be like another base on that. So I thought of the four. It was right after a period where I really needed love, or I really needed to understand what love was, because I was very confused of what it was. And I feel like the Lord had reminded me of that conversation I had with that friend. Like, think of these four things that you talked about, and how would you relay that within yourself? And what would you want to share if that's what you want to create? So I had to pray about it, offered it to the Lord. And then all of a sudden, for Storge, immediately I heard a song from Frank Ocean that I felt like was really close to what I wanted to relay it to. So I asked my friend Jalen, she said yes. I taught her the piece. I think it was in July of 2020. Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it.
And I taught her half of it, but I didn't finish it until December of 2020.
Okay.
And we recorded it then. And then Philia just came really easily, because I feel like I can definitely really relate to friendship, love, and the people that I had in this video were certain people that had really like had a distinct moment in my life. Some of them really just amazing people inward and outwardly. And I asked them all, and I mean, it all worked out because they all said yes. And it was really a great treat. The experience of creating that was not even hard at all. Like I knew what the song was. It was called Kisses by 7th Streeter. And I had the vibe. Like I was listening to the song, I would listen to it every day, and I could already visualize in my brain, I want it like this, I want it like that. I know who's going to come in at this point, who's going to come out at that point. Like I just knew that I wanted it on the stage, and I wanted it to be like you were there interacting with us and having a good time and feeling the good vibes of what friendship love is, you know. So during that time, I recorded both of those and within the same, around the same time. I recorded Storage in December, and then I recorded Philia in January, that first week of January. Actually, I think 2 days after New Year's Day.
Okay, so it was like back to back.
Yeah, and that's what it was for me. I really wanted to take my time with these 4 visual parts, because normally when you make a concept series or whatever, you want to, sometimes we want to just hurry up and get it over with. But for me, I wanted it to really simmer in, not only within the people who watch it, but also for within myself. So I knew I wanted to do the first 2 and have those posted for the beginning of the year, and then have the last 2 for the last year of 2021. As for Agape, I still, with all 4 of them, I knew what I wanted within that December of 2020. But I just didn't know how it was going to be created. For Agape, I already knew off the bat who I wanted to do that with, and it was the friend that I had just explained to you. His name is Brian Wynn, who we had the conversation about all 4 of those.
The guy you did the duet with for Agape.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I wanted him to do the Agape one because I knew he would definitely relate to what that conversation was like, or what the experience was like with, you know, God's love and sharing it with each other. And I'm glad that we had that experience, and I collabed with him for that piece. It wasn't just me doing that choreo, because I really wanted to share that moment with him. And the way that I visualized that, I knew I wanted it to be very intimate, nothing really flashy or anything like that. I didn't know where it was going to be held. I didn't know like what it was, because at the time he wasn't even living in the area. He was in California when I thought about this.
Oh my gosh.
So out of nowhere, like he just came back home, and at the right time, God's time, I felt like it was like, oh, you're here. Oh, I'm here. Oh, okay, well, let's just go ahead and just go on with, you know, doing this. So we started on that in 2021 around like, I think it was July, and we didn't record that one until August. And that turned out beautifully. I knew I wanted it to be about 2 people who have had their own experience with God and his agape love. And then for Eros, I knew I wanted it to be in a home, because it was another intimate time of me just being very natural. I wanted it to be just me by myself, to be able to express what I felt, what Eros love could be. And if you look at the video at the very end, I look up to God, like, what is it that you want me to experience when it comes to this type of love? Because with this type of love, it should be a comfortable feeling. And when I'm dancing, I'm in my home actually, and it's where I feel comfortable, which is what I wanted to relay. But in that comfortability, you are uncomfortable with having to strip down certain things in your life to be able to experience that intimate time of romantic love with someone else that you'll be able to share that with. So I really wanted that to be relayed as well. So, and that came out beautifully as well with the videographers too. I didn't only just want to just showcase just the dancers, but also the videographers who have inspired me within my dance life. And also the reason why I wanted this 4-part to be really a huge staple was because it was near my 30th, which was when I wanted all of them to be done, and just given a insight of what my journey has been like to get to here when it comes to choreographing and creating and being able to share my story, and that this is only the beginning or maybe just the midpoint of what I will be doing further on when it comes to my creativity. So yeah.
Let's go. Okay, so I think my favorite 2, I mean, they're all really good, but especially Philia and Eros. So Philia, like, obviously I knew a lot of the people in that video, so I was like, oh my gosh, it's all of the people, like all these guys. But like just from like a technical aspect, the choreography is sick. But I
Thank you.
love, I'm trying to, as a choreographer for myself, even like build the working of transitions and like formations. And so when I saw how you had so many people like transition in and out, and I was like, that is crazy. Like, did you like teach the choreography and then you're like, okay, now you're gonna do this part, but or did you like, no, I know this person's gonna be in this part and this is the formation we're gonna be in? Or that's for me as a choreographer, I'm like, man, like which came first, or if they both kind of happened at the same time?
Um, if I can recall, because I have so many things in my mind when it comes to that. If I can recall, I believe I normally do teach the choreography, but most of the time I like to just go ahead and just do the blocking right away because I already know what I want. Because like I said, I can visual if I can really visualize already off the bat of what I want and what the feeling is when it comes to transitions and doing the blocking, perfect. But when I do teach the choreo first, I want to see where I can put these dancers at to really relay the movement because everybody moves differently.
Hmm.
Yeah, you do give people choreography, but they're going to give their own sauce to it. And for me, I have to see what sauce are you going to give. And when I place you here, et
Hmm.
cetera, of what the blocking will be. Of course, it's going to be changed because I'm going to change it for it to be
Yeah.
more implemented into what I want the visual people to see. But I normally just teach the choreo first and then do the blocking like right away. And I don't wait too long because I don't want it to just go out of my brain.
Yeah.
And sometimes you could be your worst critic to where if I really was in my mind a lot, there would be plenty of times where people probably wouldn't have patience with me when it comes to doing it. Cause I'm sure a lot of them can attest that when we did shoot Philia, we did it like at least close to 20, maybe more times. I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist, but I do love for things to look good.
Yeah.
And I know the potential of my dancers as well. So that's why in my classes I push. So yeah, I don't want to overthink, but when it comes to the blocking and things, if I visualize it in my head, I already know what's to go. I write it down, jot it down, and we go right into it.
Man. And did
Yeah.
they know the whole overarching idea or concept, or they just knew that one video?
Yes, I did. I explained it to them during the beginning of me teaching them the choreo. So what happened with that process is we had 3 days to learn the Philia piece.
Let's go.
Really, actually, probably 2 days because I had my rehearsal with the girls one day, and then I had the rehearsal with the boys, and then that third day, everybody. So that was interesting enough, and it was they gave what it was given. They did the assignment, if that is what I could say, and they worked very professionally and within the amount of time that we had, definitely it turned out really, really well. So me sharing with them what the vibe was for all four of them to be connected, they got the sense of, oh, okay, all right, because they already knew beforehand what the next two were going to be. And I even explained to them what the next two were going to be so they can know, okay, I'm in this project. This project is about filial love, friendship, and just the four-part Greek love of what God is. And yeah, I feel like because of me saying that, they were able to really
Connect.
resonate with that. And yeah,
Yeah.
and be able to give
That's
the
awesome.
sauce. Yeah.
So the last one, I feel like my I relate to the I relate on multiple levels. So like I'm usually doing videos by myself, right? So I'm like, that's what I normally do. So I could relate to that aspect, and it kind of is like the least, I guess, the least hindrance you have, because it's like, what is this person feeling and what is their idea? If it's just them who created it and it's just them in the video, then you have this immediate, like, me talking to one person versus me talking to multiple friends. It's like, what are you feeling as a dancer? Like, what is your idea for this video? And so I relate to that. And then also even the concept of like, okay, God, like as humans you created us to have romantic love, like eros is the Greek word for that. So like, where does this fit in? When is this going to fit into my life? Like, how do I not just get it to get it, but I get it in your timing, in the way that you want it? How am I supposed to change? Like, I read like the description on the YouTube channel. I was like, bro, I feel you. Like I feel that, and it's like it's first of all, I commend you for being super vulnerable in that aspect, but also even just as a man who is Christian and watching that video, I loved it because from my dancer brain was like, this is so good. And then my, I guess, Christian brain was like, yo, that is such a great way to interpret that. And then my male brain was like, I appreciate this on so many levels because it was like, you are a woman, you are feminine, you have this need for romantic love. But like, we kind of, like you said, like instead of seeing it from the perspective of like what the world shows romantic love as being, like it was soft, it was emotional, it was feminine, but I didn't feel uncomfortable watching it. Which is, I've had a conversation that the last interview I had was with Sean, and so like she has like the I Am Woman class, and one time we were talking about it, and it's like I love the fact that you make people comfortable, but like understand that like I want to cheer you on, but if you're doing stuff that I feel like I can't look at, I feel like I shouldn't be cheering you on. You know, as a Christian man, it's like I like I'm trying to like stay pure over here. You know, like how do I do that and cheer you on at the same time? But like watching the video, I was like, this. It was like the balance for me was like so on point. You know, so like that's what I really loved the fourth one for, because it was like, as the choreographer for the four parts, like obviously you are in it. You know, like in every, like your fingerprint is on all four videos, but like that last one, because of those two reasons, I was like, man. But when it comes to making something vulnerable, as a choreographer, as a dancer, as a person, as a Christian, as a woman, like all those things in the same soup, I guess you could say, you know, it's like, what are some of the fears? Like, what were you experiencing? What were the fears that you experienced when it came to like, oh, I'm going to do this and like put myself out there in that way? And then how did you overcome those fears, or what helped you overcome those fears?
I guess you could say being misunderstood would be one of them, because you don't want people to misunderstood what you're trying to share. But overcoming that, I would say, like I said earlier, when you offer up something like this to God and He already puts a stamp on saying it's approved, then right there within that assurance, you already know it's approved. So I have nothing to be fearful of. And if there is any fear, then it's the Holy Spirit working through me to be able to share what He is giving me the insight of to His people. And with that type of being like a messenger, I think that's the comfort in knowing, okay, I know who I am, and I can just go ahead and overcome this fear. And if people misunderstand, then that, you know, not everything is for everyone. But also, I also pray to God that if there's anyone out there who really needs the message that you are trying to have for them to open their eyes to see what you want them to see, then I thank you on behalf of that. So with just that type of assurance and having that confidentiality within God, with this gift, because it's the gift that He's giving me, and I have to work diligently in what I do, and I can't just keep it all into myself within those fears. I have to work on those fears and have faith instead. So that's like the turnover for that for me.
Man. So you're 30, you're a choreographer.
I am.
You started technically at 8, almost at 18. But if you could talk to your younger choreographer self or your past choreographer self, knowing that they would listen, what would you say to them?
I would say a lot of things. I would say a whole lot. The first thing that comes to my mind is that you're not crazy. Because there have been probably some times when I was young and I'm like, I just don't feel like I can do anything, because if I do something, then they might think I'm like crazy for thinking that. And it goes back to when I turned 18 to that song, Standing Out. So I would tell myself, it's okay to be different. It's okay to be unique. It's okay. And when I say you're not crazy, it's like, you're not crazy for thinking what you're thinking when it comes to your creativity. You're not crazy for being who you are. Accept who you are. Don't be so caught up in what you think everybody else is doing. Don't fit into that mode. God's created you in a different mode. And to also listen to your mother when she gives you different scriptures. It's not to make you feel bad. It's for you to really take those scriptures to heart and to speak life upon yourself, because you can do all things through Christ. That does strengthen you. And yeah, my mom would probably say that like every day. And, I'll probably roll my eyes, but I feel if it was coming from me, from a future me to my younger self, I would definitely listen to that and take that to heart, because then maybe at 8, I probably would have been able to like go and just, all right, let's do this. I'm a choreograph. But I think that had to happen for me to get to where I am right now, to see who I am and the potential that I am in being in this world and being very unique in a different cloth of being able to be a creator as I am right now.
Awesome. Yeah, that's basically all I had to ask, to be honest. If is there anything that I missed or anything that you want to relay? Like this conversation is for the BeatHunter dance community, right? So if there's anything you'd like to say, like last words or things that you'd want to communicate to them, like want them to know about yourself, for them to know, for them to change, and or for us as a dance community, it could be like, open the floor.
I feel like we said it all, but I know I wouldn't mind sharing, like, just don't be afraid. And if you are afraid, like, work on that. Like, when I say work on that, I mean, like, do it afraid, do things afraid. I really respect what you're doing, Joelle, with, working into what you're doing for BeatHunter and even for the community itself. Like, I'm sure you probably had your moments as well as a leader here, but the fact that you are very persistent and consistent in what you do, it says a whole lot about who you are and how much you do care about others to become better and to get the knowledge, because that's really important, is knowing what you do. If that's anything I could really add on to. And I know for me right now, I'm in this midst of being a teacher, not only just a choreographer, but I'm being a teacher towards my students. And I see myself giving them a lot of knowledge, not only just within dancing, because I teach hip hop, and that's one of the 5 elements is knowledge, but I also am giving them some character and building within themselves at a very young age that was implemented in me, even at the age of 8. I see like it's like a full circle in a way, and I'm very blessed to have that. So I want to tell people that, do things afraid, but also be mindful of why you're doing what you're doing, and to always honor God in what you do, because He's the one that has given us the air to breathe the things that we can give. And don't ever think that your words, and when I say words, I even mean your movement, is not enough and it's not seen, because there's someone out there who will definitely need that, because everyone needs something from someone in a positive way. So yeah.
So even if this never airs, this whole conversation was for me, fam. Like, for real. No, man, thank you so much.
Yeah.
For what you do, for how you teach, for sharing your experience, and for being part of this conversation. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.